Hello and welcome to this special interaction for BPA students where we are demonstrating the oratory skills of newsreaders and the control of voice, which can be of immense benefit to students of theatre. We now talk a bit about mechanics of voicecraft. The main defects that can occur in our engine, that is voice, are fuel, which means breath, lubrication, which means physical condition or flexibility of parts, and navigation, which means road conditions or the words we travel on. Now let us talk about fuel, the air power that drives the voice. If our breathing is faulty, we will get uneven running. The listener will sense things are not quite right and feel uneasy, like when in a car and the fuel is not getting through properly. Now lubrication, that is the physical condition or flexibility of vocal pads. All the organs of speech and the body itself are used in the effort, and it takes effort to truly communicate. If we are not properly warmed up, the delivery can be inhibited. Tension does terrible things to the voice and even wreck it. Relaxation, openness and vocal pads working in harmony will produce the best result. Now navigation, that is the road conditions or the words we travel on. The mouth tends to follow what the eye sees. So we should have the best possible word, that is language conditions, for a pleasant journey through a news bulletin. To speak clearly, we must see the way ahead clearly. Now breathing for voice control and extension of capacity. The vocal tract is an air-powered sound generating system. When we expel air from the lungs, it has to pass around the vocal cords, a pair of muscular tissues which may be tensed or relaxed at will, voluntarily. When this happens, the airflow causes them to buzz, rather like the reed in the wind instrument. The pitch of the buzz is then acoustically filtered by the rest of the vocal tract. As the mouth shape alters by moving tongue, hump and lips, different sounds are produced. It is this dynamic filtering that changes that vocal cord buzz into speech. The length, the thickness and the tension of the vocal cords varies slightly from person to person, giving that person the sound you recognize them by. It also explains the difference in pitch between male and female voice. Here is a diagram explaining the vocal tract system in humans. The different parts of vocal tracts are vocal cords, then there is trachea, epiglottis, velum, soft palate, nasal pharynx, nasal cavity, nostrils, tongue and lips. It isn't necessary to go into a full biological description of all the parts shown. That alone won't help you to breathe correctly. We are concerned here mainly with the airflow and how it is used or modified for speech. It is easy to increase the breath supply, but uncontrolled force is bad for note and tone of the voice. So not only do we need sufficient capacity to help us to produce faultless phrasing and easily adjust volume, but also the ability to control the breath so it is used the way a skilled violinist uses his bow, with firmness and a sure touch. In normal quiet breathing, we usually breathe in slower than when we breathe out. When speaking, this gets reversed. Our intake of breath must be quick, deep enough but unobtrusive, quiet enough that it doesn't distract from the flow of speech, which uses the outflow of that breath, waiting till the sense of what is being said to arrive at a logical pause point before taking the next. So it takes longer on the way out. Ordinary breathing is a reflex act. We do it without even having to think about it. The natural flow of what we say includes pauses at natural pause places, and we take breaths there. But when we are breathing under artificial condition, such as broadcasting or maybe in theatre, where we are not necessarily having a conversation or reading a news bulletin, for example, we are faced with having to make some effort of will about how and where we breathe. We do have to think about it until the habit is in place, when we can do that automatically too. Follow now to the fuel tank area, the lungs. The lungs are encased in a cone-shaped cavity, wider at the bottom, where the diaphragm forms the base. The diaphragm's muscles contract, it moves downward, and more room is created for the lungs to expand. This is how air is drawn into the lungs. But that's not all there is to it. The ribs move too. When you breathe in, the rib muscles contract. The ribs move upwards and outwards to further increase room for the inflation of the lungs, or they should. This is where problems can arise. When nervous or tense, we can take quick, shallow breaths without properly inflating the lungs. We raise the shoulders and lift the rib cage vertically and don't pay attention enough to the outward or the lateral movement of the ribs. And we don't get enough air in for the job. Now, the control of volume and tone is then impossible. What to do about the lateral rib movement? Let's do some demonstration and exercises for this. Encourage this lateral or sideways movement of the ribs. You can feel this movement like this. Place the fingers on the rib cage by putting the thumbs pointing behind towards the spine as far up under the armpits as you can comfortably reach. This position is about 7 to 10 centimeters above the waist, fingers reaching just in front of the armpits. Now, without drawing the elbows back, direct the ribs to move outwards, sensing the lateral movement as air is drawn in. The right sensation should be that the whole of the back widens from side to side. The wrong sensation is that the ribs and breastbone are thrust forward in front. Practice this until you can feel that the ribs are moving out effortlessly to their maximum point. The breath should enter and leave silently. Breathe openly, don't sniff. Once you feel you can make the ribs move outwards instead of upwards, although they will do that anyway, try taking the breath in through the nose and letting it out through the mouth. Relax the jaw, pay attention to the easy, unstiffened jaw position and the silent release, exhalation of breath. Stage 3. Breathing in and out through the mouth. Relax jaws, rib pointing outwards and back. Increase the difficulty by mentally counting in 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4. The breath should be held without feeling tense. Now, stage 4. So far you have been breathing in and out in equal duration. Now try shortening the intake time and lengthening the count as you breathe out. Aim for almost instantaneous outward rib movement and invert to a mental count of 20. Now, something important, increase this gradually, never till it's uncomfortable. The power to control breath outlet must be acquired gradually. Do not attempt any shortcuts. The diaphragm. The diaphragmatic breathing is something that we are going to learn about now. The diaphragm forms the base of the conical rib cage. It arches up into the chest cavity, so presenting a convex surface to the lens. When it contracts, it comes down. But there should be hardly any movement of the stomach wall below the waist. If there is, it's probably because those abdominal muscles are the only one moving. That's not what you want. Establish that downward movement of the diaphragm and then get used to it while standing up until you can do it at will or on command. Not only does balancing these movements helps us to achieve full capacity breathing, but it helps ensure against pot belly, that is the stomach wall protruding, also called beer belly. Men and women often differ in the ratio of these two movements. Women on the whole tend to use the diaphragm too little, relying too much on the rib movement. Many men do the opposite, relying on the downward movement of the diaphragm and forgetting about the rib movement. Now let's talk about diction. Diction is clarity of speech. This is where the fitness of your speaking equipment really speaks for itself. Think of the fitness for the purpose of speaking in the way an athlete thinks of the whole body. So too with the mouth parts, but let's assume you are in good shape and you still need to warm up. If you were to run a 100-meter race, you would not crouch down at the starting block without doing a few warm up. What happens if you do not do it? You run the risk of straining something and making mistakes. The situation is also same in the case of mouth parts. Make sure you have a good breath supply. Exhale completely. Really empty those lungs. Take a good, slow, deep breath. In that one breath, count out loud, slowly, about one number per second, and see how far you can get.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40.
If you fail to get to 20, you need to work on this and give up smoking if you are doing so. If you can get to 40, you are okay. If you make 55 plus, you have a good breath supply. The encouraging thing is this exercise will show rapid progress. Do it twice a day and within 3 days you can almost double your count. And just to make sure you are ready, go through these little exercises to work all those parts at top capacity. Say these as fast as you can and clearly do so. The light police dismisseth us. A proper cup of coffee in a proper coffee cup. The sea ceaseth and it sufficeth us. She stood on the balcony, inexplicably mimicking him and amicably welcoming him in. Theophilus Thistle and 33 thick and thirsty loathsome moths threw their mammoth mouths thievishly and thoroughly through the gathered length of cloth thrown hither and thither by Thane and Smith in thriving hyacinths and chrysanthemums. Now for a short narration practice, you can see the video and repeat these exercises by reading the script. The greatest story of the past time was the unanimous verdict of the critics circle when they were asked to comment on Arctic Snows, the latest documentary to be reviewed this year. The strength of sixth of the starkest drama consists simply of the close-up of the snow-covered clothes, the choicest shots and the swiftness with which the climax is built up. Fast moving down to the last cue with a series of swift strokes, the climax seems to burst before our astonished sight. The width and the breadth of the conception is striking. Smith's slick sixth scene is the most moving when past caring he hacks through the snows with the strength of the hardest steel to rescue his companions who look like ghosts seen through the Arctic mists. The seventh scene of this breathless epic is past description. The snow ceases, the mists clear and the party prepares for the last task. We see the screen flecked with the choicest stars. Now let's talk about lubrication, that is the physical condition and flexibility of working parts. You wouldn't prepare for the 100-meter dash by just sauntering up to the starting block and waiting for the starter's pistol. You would warm up first or you are likely to strain something. Similarly, you don't approach the microphone without flexing the working parts of your vocal tract first. You are probably already aware of what happens when you are on early shift. You get up, you go to work, nobody else is out of bed, you have spoken to nobody, the time rolls around to 6 a.m. and you are on air. You open your mouth and all that comes out is a crackling, cackling sound like a chicken. How embarrassing. So you make sure that you do some talking to yourself first. This is to get your vocal cords going for the day. Now to do these exercises, choose a place where you are completely alone and will not be disturbed. You are about to make some odd noises and you do not want others hearing or seeing you. That would make you inhibited or uncomfortable. Now, for some exercises for improving the vocal tract. With the back straight, take a deep breath, and while doing that, extend the diaphragm muscle at the stomach level. This helps to expand the area of the lung cavity, allowing you to get more air into those lungs. It promotes better control of airflow and reduces shallow breathing. If you use this technique regularly, it will become a second nature. Now say ah, stretching it over about 10 seconds, still keeping chest expanded, trying to allow the impulse of the sound to come all the way from the waist level. Close the lips tightly and hum. Keep the throat relaxed and teeth apart. Keep thinking of the diaphragm muscle at waist level and force the tone through the nose and mouth at the same time until the lips begin to tingle or itch. Begin the note at your comfortable bass level and slide the voice up and down within your vocal range. Try to increase the volume without tightening the throat or jaw. Keep your concentration on the work being done by the diaphragm. Now, one more exercise. Using the above technique mentioned in the previous exercise, say ma, mo, me. Remember, the main point here is to keep the throat, tongue and jaw relaxed and to keep the chest and diaphragm active. Now, some notes on better tone placement. When we speak, we should mentally direct the tone to the hard palate, that is the roof of the mouth. Even when speaking softly, avoid trapping the voice in the throat, that is the laryngeal ring. Try to imagine each word as being well forward in the mouth, but tension and nervousness can constrict and swallow the sound if you allow it to. Don't allow it to. This forward tone gives more clarity, avoiding any muffling of the sound. If you can remember the basic points, the reason for these exercises, your capacity for reading aloud and ability to interpret will improve. Now, we talk about care of the vocal tract. It's bad practice to clear throat roughly. The vocal cords are stretched, causing a rough voice quality. It can also irritate the throat membrane. Water sipped and held as far back in the throat as possible before swallowing is the best way to free any material temporarily lodged in the throat. Shouting can be equally harmful for the same reason. Smoking is always harmful. If you earn your living by the use of your voice and want it to be a pleasant thing for other people to hear, don't irritate your throat by smoking. The other obvious benefit is you are likely to live longer too. When suffering from blocked nasal passages, sinus or cold, be sparing with your use of an inhaler. Its astringent effect on the throat membranes can be irritating or inflaming if overused. Look after your vocal cords and respect it along with your body. Thank you so much for watching.